Onslaught is a new game mechanic introduced in Fallout 76's Season 20 Glow of the Ghoul update. So what is Onslaught? It's a damage boost similar to the old Furious. The difference is, in the old version, you needed to have consecutive hits on the same enemy. Onslaught allows you to change targets and still increase your damage. The damage boost is measured in stacks. Stacks appear at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Each stack is equivalent to a 5% damage bonus. Depending on the weapon you're using and the perk cards you have, that can go up to 30 stacks, or 150% damage bonus. That is better than Bloodied. There are two versions of Onslaught, regular and reverse. Regular is on by default. You do not need to equip any perk cards for it to exist. Stacks build with each hit, and stacks decay at a rate of 1 per second. Reverse Onslaught is activated by equipping the Gunslinger Master perk card. Stacks build passively at a rate of 1 per second, and you lose a stack each time you hit an enemy. Important to note that each projectile counts as taking a stack away, as does the explosive effect. Here we'll try Gunslinger Master with the explosive shotgun, the Kabloom. What you'll notice is that the stacks go down almost immediately. With the shotgun, each pellet counts as a hit. So if you land all of the pellets, that's 8 stacks right there. And this is an explosive shotgun as well, so the explosion counts as a stack in addition to each pellet. So this is a perfect example of where you do not want to use Gunslinger Master. Here's the Kabloom again, but we've taken off Gunslinger Master. So now the stacks will go up with each hit. And again, each pellet counts as a hit. So you'll notice that the stacks almost immediately go up to max stacks. Melee weapons have to be furious in order to use Onslaught. However, with a slow-hitting weapon like this Furious Gauntlet, you'll notice that the stacks never really build up. And it's almost impossible for you to actually get to what, in theory, is 9 stacks for this weapon. But the workaround to this is to use Gunslinger Master. Obviously, the name implies that it only works with firearms, but it does work with melee weapons, at least half the card. It doesn't give you the 10 extra stacks that the card says, but it does give you reverse Onslaught. So for a slow melee weapon, this is perfect. You'll notice here that I'm almost always at the top 9 stacks. Here I'm using a Vampire's Auto Axe, and you'll notice I have the Master Gunslinger equipped, so the stacks should be building passively, but you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner there's no number. So this is demonstrating that it has to be a furious melee weapon for Onslaught to work at all. And then just to be sure, same Vampire's Auto Axe, I took off Master Gunslinger, so it should be the regular Onslaught. Stacks should build up over time, but again, Vampire's weapon, not going to happen. It has to be furious for Onslaught to work either way with a melee weapon. But as you might expect from the name of the cards, Onslaught works best with ranged weapons. Here's an example of a fast-fire weapon, the Slugbuster, modified with the Flamer Barrel. So with a fast-fire weapon, often you'll want to use the regular Onslaught, so you do not want Master Gunslinger, but you do want the cards that add stacks. These include Gunslinger Expert, Guerrilla Master, and Guerrilla Expert. For those of us used to the Guerrilla cards only applying to automatic weapons, that is not true anymore. They apply across the board to all weapons. This isn't a furious weapon, and so the stacks are relatively low, but you can see with a fast-fire weapon like this, the stacks almost immediately go to the maximum as soon as I hit the enemy. For regular enemies, basically anything except an endgame boss, I would advocate for having Gunslinger Master on, even if it's a fast-fire weapon. The Slugbuster with the Flamer Barrel is one of the fastest-firing weapons in the game, but notice the stacks in the bottom right-hand corner, how they are close to max stacks the entire time. You're not going to hit enough enemies quickly enough in order to build up your stacks to the maximum and keep it there. However, if you do the reverse Onslaught, you're starting with the max number of stacks, and you're taking out the enemies in few enough hits, and there's enough time in between enemies that you are going to be doing much more damage than you would were you to use the regular Onslaught. Gunslinger Master works best with a heavy-hitting single-fire weapon. Here I have a Furious Western Revolver. I'm using all of the cards that boost my stacks, so I will have 30 stacks almost every single time I hit an enemy. Notice in this run that the lowest the stacks ever gets is down to 28. This may be intentional or it may be a bug, but at present you can hold a Furious weapon, wait for the stacks to build up to maximum, switch to a non-Furious weapon, and the stacks will remain, allowing you to fire a non-Furious weapon at the max stacks of that Furious weapon. So here I have my Furious Western Revolver. I wait for it to get to max stacks. I then switch to my instigating black powder pistol, and you can see the just absolutely insane amount of damage that it does, especially when it's a critical hit. In summary, your ultimate goal with Onslaught is to keep your stacks as high as possible for as long as possible. Whether you use regular Onslaught or reverse Onslaught is going to depend on the weapon, on the enemy, and on your personal play style. Experiment with both options with the weapon of your choice and pick which one ends up doing the most damage. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to help.